Starting a series today called Who is God? And each week we're going to be looking at different names that God has throughout the Bible. And today we're going to be looking at the name Elohim. It's actually the first name that God has given. It's in Genesis chapter 1. And it says, in the beginning, God. Thank you. Yes, that is it. Not a trick question. That one's Elohim, right? In the beginning, God. He created the heavens and the earth. It's probably his most used name throughout the scriptures. And here's what I'm trying to get across to you today, okay? Especially when you feel like you're going through a tough time, especially when things are hard, okay? It can tend to diminish our view of God. Because no matter what we may be facing, we can only see what's right in front of us. And so we get a big view of the issues, the problems that we have, and the tribulations we're going through, but it diminishes our view of God. And so my hope and my prayer for you today is that you would have a renewed vision, okay, and a renewed perspective on how big our God is. Because our God is so big, we can't even begin to wrap our minds around how big he is and how good he is and how beautiful he is, how majestic he is. And so that's my hope for us today as we dive into Psalm 139 today. Names matter. Okay, we're in this series about names. Names matter. Dale Carnegie, he has this book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And he's famous for talking about how a person's name is to that person the sweetest, most important sound in any language. And I think most of us, if you tell somebody your name, you introduce yourself, and then you come back and they remember your name, like you feel pretty good about it, right? Like you're like, let's go. Like that's Kirk Hobbs' spiritual gift, okay? Like he's the living, breathing church directory, okay? So if you ever need to know somebody's name, you can always go to him. Names matter. Oftentimes when you get married, the wife will take the name of the last name of the husband, right? Because there's a new identity and a new like purpose in that family, and so they take a last name. If you've adopted a child and they took your last name, it's kind of the same thing. Names matter, and names carry weight. Sometimes there's names you can't live up to. There are 3,000 Michael Jordans in the United States, but there's only one. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't live up to that one. Sometimes you don't want to live up to your name. There are 11 people in the United States with the name Felony. Okay, that's not one you want to live up to in your life. One of my favorite things about college football season is that people always come out with like the best names in college football. It's like the all names list, okay? I took 4 down for you because I think they're incredible. Nitro Tuggle. That sounds like a football player to me. Dorillus Clark, okay? Legend Journey. And my favorite one on the whole list, Mobility. Come on. All right, there's these names. In our culture today, names that you're given, a lot of times you like the sound of them, or they're cool. But you also start giving your people around you like nicknames that actually carry more to do with like their identity or who they are, right? You get a nickname. A friend of mine, he was in our youth group for a long time. He's become a good friend. His name is Braylon McKinley. He played basketball at Northside, and he's the smiliest guy I've ever been around, man. He's just always, so when he started playing basketball, they gave him the nickname Big Cheese. That was his nickname in high school. He was Big Cheese because he was always smiling until he was a senior, and this sophomore kid came up, and he also was a smiley kid, so then they call him Little Cheese. So you got Big Cheese, you had Little Cheese. My son Bennett, we call him Hoops because he always has a ball in his hand. Like he just loves sports, so we call him Hoops. Nicknames in our time really carry more about somebody's character and identity, but in biblical times, man, their name that they were given, it mattered. It spoke to their character, their identity, and the potential that their family had for their children, like that what they wanted to see in them. And you'll see all throughout like the Old Testament, and you should pay attention to this. When God changes somebody's name, that should like be a warning sign for you, because oftentimes you'll see a change in this person's life, and God starts to call out potential in somebody's life before they ever start walking in it, and he does it by changing their name. You see this with Abraham. His means the father of multitudes. Jacob went from deceiver to Israel, who is the one who prevails. Jacob knew the importance of this in his own life, and his wife Rachel was passing away, giving birth to a child, and she wanted to name him Ben-Oni or Ben-Ani, and it meant son of my sorrows. But Jacob changed it when he was born, and he changed it to Benjamin, which means son of my right hand. He went from son of my sorrows to the son who has a place of authority in my life, like he's going to be important to me. Peter was changed to the rock. And we see how God uses names and how important they are at this time. We try to do this with our own kids. Judah, it means praised one of God. It also means let him be praised, because we wanted him to be a worshiper, that he would be one who would praise God. Zoe means life. Bennett means blessed. And what we see throughout Scripture is that through the unique names that God has, he gives us glimpses into his character. Like we get to learn through each unique name that he has a different facet of who God is, and we get to understand the totality of who he is. You know, Moses asked him when he was going to go talk, he said, who am I going to say that you are? And he gave this really obscure answer, right? In Exodus 3, verse 14, he says, I am who I am. It's like, okay, all right, I am who I am. But listen to me, he's communicating, really what we're trying to get to communicate to you in this series is that for every need, God has a name. That for every need that you have in your life, and really for every need that God's people have, even at this time, he was trying to tell them, every need you have, I have a name. Because he knew that they were surrounded by unbelieving pagan people who would go to different gods and try to appease different gods depending on what they needed. Maybe they needed good crops, so they would go to one god, or they needed fertility, they go to this god, or they go to the war for this god, and they were looking for success and they would go to different gods and they would try to appease them, and he knew. And so he continued to reveal himself in new ways to let them know, like, hey, you don't have to go anywhere else. Everything you need is found in me. Like, I'm here for you. Every need, it has a name. And I think if we were being honest, we probably are like the Israelites. And how we'll go to little different false gods that exist in our life to try to fill a need in our life. Instead of going to the source, going to God himself, we'll run to money. Like, I got problems. If I can have enough money will solve all my problems. Enough money won't solve all of your problems. Maybe you think that you're smart enough that no matter what situation you may find yourself in, I can run to my intellect and my wisdom and my discernment and my own ability, and I'll be able to get through it. You will not be able to get through it. You can try to rely on your own strength, like if I have enough grit and determination that I can just have enough willpower, I'll be able to make through it. Maybe you rely on a relationship, like as long as I have this person here, I'll be able to get through it. And we run to all these other areas, and what God is wanting us to know is that for every need, he has a name. And so you may be lonely, he is your friend. You may be weak, he is your strength. You may be broken, he is your healer. You may be lost, he is your shepherd. You may be scared, he is your refuge. I love Psalm chapter 9, verse 10, and this is what I hope that you get out of this series. It says, those who know your name trust in you. Isn't that beautiful? That the more I know God's name and all the various names that he gets and the different aspects that it shows me of who he is, the more I know his name, the more I can trust in who he is. And so today we're in Psalm 139. We're not going to make it all the way through. We're going to get to, I'll mention the third one. All of these have like theological terms attached to them, so we'll talk about them. But point number one, as you can already see, Elohim is all-knowing. He's omniscient. My kids are really nosy, okay? Y'all got nosy kids? Like where they have to know every detail of everything that you ever do in every moment of every day of your life? Y'all know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you can't go a moment without question after question after question. Listen, there's some nights I'm so tired at night, I just put them on a question limit. It's like a pitch count almost, you know? It's like, hey, you got 2 left. Use them wisely. And they're like, why? I said, well, there went 1. Now you're down to 1. Yeah, better slow down, you know? Like, hey, I don't know if that's good parenting or not, but that's what we do. I'll tell you the toughest is our youngest, Bennett. He's at the age where he's old enough to ask the questions, but not old enough to understand the answer. And so that's like a disaster trying to explain what's going on. My wife left for a work trip yesterday. He was taking a nap. He woke up. Where's mom? She's on a plane. When did she get here? It's like, that's not how the plane works. Like, she's leaving, you know? And he's like, she's on a plane. Yes. Why? It's like, oh, dear God, help me, you know? Like, so listen to me. My kids are nosy. They want to know details. They're trying to always figure out what the details are, and they're trying to get into all of this stuff. Listen to me. God's not confused about what's happening. God doesn't have to try to ask questions to get answers to things. He doesn't have to try to dig around in the details to know anything. God is all knowing. He sees it all. He knows it all. And this is where David starts in Psalm 139. In the first 6 verses, he says, you have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise, you perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me and too lofty for me to attain. I love this because it's beautiful to see David processing this, because not only does he realize that God is all-knowing, that Elohim is all-knowing, but what he's realizing is that Elohim knows everything about me. Not just about all of the universe, he knows everything about me. And that should encourage you, because that means God is not a distant God. He's not a God who just set everything in motion and just let it roll. He's a close God. He's an immanent God. He's a personal God. And he wants a personal, close relationship with you. He knows everything about you. So what does that mean for you? Number one, that means he knows all of your actions. And that's what he's talking about in this verse. Look at all just the intimate knowledge of everything that David was doing. He said, he knows when I rise. He knows when I sit. He knows my thoughts. He knows when I'm going. He knows when I'm lying down. He knows how many pumpkin spice lattes you've had this season already, okay? He knows all the little in going and coming. It says he knows all of your words. And actually, he says he knows your words before you know your words. And so let me give you a piece of advice here, especially you husbands in the room, okay? When you're about to say something and the Holy Spirit tells you not to say that thing, I want you to remember this verse, that God knew before you knew. He also knew what was about to happen. And he is trying to save you from dangerous waters, okay? So he knew before. He says, all of my ways, God, you know them completely. How many of you have Life 360? Be tracking your kids and stuff. Y'all got Life 360? My youngest, my wife goes to work out at 5 in the morning. And he always crawls in the bed. He wants to hit the purple app. He wants to follow mom as she's driving home from the gym, and then we pretend to be asleep. Like we haven't been up here for like 30 minutes watching her do nothing, like not moving at all. Listen to me. God's got Life 360 on you 24/7, okay? That's what I need you to know. He's all-knowing, and he's all-seeing. And this means something else. If he knows all of your actions, and listen to me, it's about to get real quiet in here, but I love you, and I want to pastor you in this moment. If he knows all your actions, that means he knows all of your sin. Okay? And I see something happen in the life of believers that I can only describe as foolishness. And it's this, is that when we are having sin in our life, when we operate in sin, we run and we hide from God. Isn't this the fall? That when they severed this relationship with God, what did they do? They went and ran, they hid from God. And so often when we have sin in our lives, we want to cover it up. We want to bury it. We want to pretend like it's not there, out of sight, out of mind. And we try to hide from him. Listen to me. That's like running into the desert when you're dying of thirst. You are running from the greatest source of freedom and healing from the sin in your life. You're running in the opposite direction of it. The other thing that we try to act like he doesn't already know. Like, isn't that so silly? Like we're hiding and we act like God doesn't already know in the first place. When I was growing up, I grew up with my dad. It was me and him. And on the weekends, I spent almost every weekend of my life with my grandma. And then on Sunday nights, I would visit my mom and then she would bring me home. And the best way I can think about it now that I'm, like much older is, I think I didn't want to disappoint my dad, when I messed things up. And so I just lied all the time, okay? Like I lied a lot. I tried to hide things from my dad. And when I would come home on Sunday nights, my mom would bring me home, I would get anxious. Because there's like a 50% chance of me getting busted in a lie when I walk in the door, and it's like, this could go sideways, And so I always would be anxious, like walking into the house. And sure enough, from time to time, I'd be like, hey, son. Dads get real arrogant when they catch somebody. It's like that voice is like, hey, son, can you go get that jacket? Where's that jacket at? Oh, it's in my closet. He's like, yeah, go ahead and get it. Well, I had torn a hole in the jacket, and I was like trying to hide this from my dad. Students, if you're in the room right now, you can't get anything past your parents. You need to give that up right now. You're never going to get it by him. my dad always seemed to be able to find out the things I was hiding from him. Listen to me. You can't hide from God. You can't hide your sin from God. He already knows it. He already sees it. But listen to me. God's grace is in the midst of it. Because the other truth is this, is that even though that God knows you deeply, he knows everything about you, he chooses to love you completely. God knows your deepest needs. God knew that you needed a Savior, and he sent his son, Jesus Christ. He knows what you're going through. Listen to me. He sees all of the mess, the good, the bad, and the ugly in our lives. And yet, he chooses to love us completely. That while we were sinners, Christ died for our sin. Do you see God's grace in this? It should encourage us that we have a God who is all-knowing. And although he knows everything about us, he still chooses to love us. Matthew 6:8, it says, don't be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him. He knows all of it. Number 2 is this. Elohim is ever present. If you want the theological word, omnipresent. But he's ever present. Pastor Brendan and I, the other day, a couple weeks ago, we were in Little Rock, going to pick up a pallet of diapers to distribute to some of like our ministry partners here in town. And so we were going to pick up some diapers. We left lunch. He put the address into his GPS. We're going to the warehouse to go pick this up. And along the way, we hit this road, and there's a train, and it's stopped on the track, okay? And so we sit there for a really, really long time, and then we decide, okay. So we look left, it's all train. We look right, it's all train. We're like, all right, let's pick a direction and see if we can find the front or back of this thing, let's just try to find a way around this thing. And so we turn around, we're driving down the road, and we're just looking. Nope, train, we'll just keep going. Oh, okay, we can get across. I kid you not, we drive up, train starts moving. And I was like, oh no, okay. Well, let's see how long this is. 10 or 12 minutes pass. And this is the longest train that's ever existed. It's just going, and it's going, and it's going. It's like, I don't know if this thing's ever, it may never end. We don't know. We're just sitting here. Finally, the train passes. Thank God. It finally goes. We go across. We go to the place. We typed in the wrong address. And we went to the wrong part of Every Arkansan, which is where we were going to pick this up. And come to find out, we didn't even have to go across the train tracks. So that was real great. And then we got to the warehouse, and they were closed. And so it was a really fun trip with me and Pastor Brandon. We could only see a little ways to the left and right. God sees it all. God sees down the road. He sees around the corner. He sees over the mountain. He sees under the water. He sees it all. He is everywhere. And that's what David goes on to in Psalm 139 as he goes from verse 7 to 12. Look at the question he asks. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to heavens, you are there. Thanks, David. Yeah, we know. You're not helping us out here. But look what he says. He says, if I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, or if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me, and your right hand will hold me fast. And then he makes a statement in these next 2 verses I think is incredible. He says, if I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. David's realizing that there is nowhere that life can take him that God is not right there with him. That everywhere he goes, God is with him. If you are a follower, you have God's Spirit alive on the inside of you. He goes with you wherever you go. And I want to remind you from this passage 2 places that he goes. Number 1, he goes with us to the mountaintop, right? These are sweet moments that we spend with the Lord. And maybe you've had these at church on Sunday or First Wednesday. And maybe you can remember hallmark moments in your relationship with the Lord where you went to church camp or Collide camp, all of these things, and you had an incredible experience with God and you felt like you were on the mountaintop. Have you ever been there before? Anybody? Okay, nobody raise their hand. I got it. Just me? I'm happy to have been there. And this is important because God uses these moments for encouragement. He uses these moments to build us up, to speak vision over our lives. I was on a trip and I felt like God called me into ministry in that moment. I'll never forget that moment, right? We're on the mountaintop. God also does this in our daily time with him. When we're just spending time in his word and in his presence, and he's using it to correct us and lead us and guide us. And so God is with us in the good times, on the mountaintop, when things are going great, when you feel really close to the Lord. He's there. But guess what? He also goes with you through the darkness. He said, even if I go into the darkness, your darkness is like light. Psalm 23, verse 4, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will feel no evil, for you are with me. Psalm 46:10, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in a time of trouble. It's easy to know that God walks with us through the high points of this life. But church, you got to know that he's going to walk through all of the dark moments of your life right there with you. I can remember it's easy to know that in your mind. But it's something different when God walks with you through something. I remember I got a call, I guess it was 2019. Hey, your mom's on life support. You got to drive to Houston. It's like, okay, I jet down there. None of the details of the whole situation, none of it really matters. But all I can say is that the whole drive there's this unexplainable sense of God's presence along the way. Okay, and I was reminded that Job says, he said, the Lord gives and he takes away, but blessed be the name of the Lord. What that means is that through every good and bad thing that happens on this earth, God is still blessed. His name is still above all names, that he is good and he is faithful and he is trustworthy over it all. And so in one of the lowest moments of my life, I could feel God's sense of peace on it. Why? Because blessed be the name of the Lord. That he is ever present and he walks through the darkness with us. Not only is God everywhere, but he is everywhere with you. And if his Holy Spirit is with you, he is going everywhere with you. I'm going to say the third one really quick, and then we're going to get to the close of this bad boy. The third thing we see in this passage about God is that God is all powerful, that he's omnipotent. We talked already about Elohim starts in Genesis chapter 1, where it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And we see this beautiful display of power on his part. He creates everything with just a word. It's a beautiful demonstration of his power. But in this passage, David begins to look at God's power in a different way. In Psalm 139:13, he says, for you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Not only do we see God's power displayed in an incredible way in all of creation, but we see it in how intimate and detailed he was to create you and me. That he would care that much, that there was not a detail missed, that you're not a mistake and you're not an accident, that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. That's like you're a masterpiece or a work of art in God's sight. You know what that also means? He talks about all his days were written in the book. God has a plan and a purpose for you. That you're not just wandering around this thing, aimless. And maybe you are, and you need to know today, God has something better for you. Because he loves you and he cares for you. And he is all powerful to the degree that he made you with such detail. Every aspect of it. So let's look at the end of this passage, because this is what I want to close with. He says in verse 17, how precious to me are your thoughts, God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. When I awake, I am still with you. He talks about all of these different aspects of God and how God is all powerful and he's ever present and he's all knowing. And the only thing that David can figure out to do is to worship God. right? Like, he just can't help it. He's like, I don't have anything I can say, but God, you're incredible. And I hope that when you hear all of these things and you see the grace in your life that God has given you, and the peace that God has given you, and the comfort that God has given you through him being Elohim, I hope that your heart rises up in a moment of praise, in a moment of worship, that you would expand how you see God and how big he is, and that it would cause you to worship, because that truly is the right response when you realize how big our God is. That's what David does. And then this passage takes quite a turn, okay? We go in a very different direction. He says, if only you, God, would slay the wicked. Away from me, you who are bloodthirsty. They speak of you with evil intent. Your adversaries misuse your name. Do I not hate those who hate you, Lord, and abhor those who are in rebellion? Oh my God, who are in rebellion against you? I have nothing but hatred for them. I count them my enemies. And as I was praying this week, and as things have kind of unfolded this week, I feel like probably some people feel this way. There's a level of rage and a level of anger, and not everybody, but certainly some. There's hatred in your heart. There's anger towards what's happening in our world today, the evil that we see. And I just felt like the Lord showed me something in this passage. I don't see a correction for what he prayed, but I think it's so interesting because even in the midst of this, do you know the first thing that David does once he says that to God? He looks at himself. He checks his own heart. He said, God, this is what I'm feeling and this is what I'm experiencing. But before I even start to point the finger at anybody else, God, I need you to make sure that my heart is in line with you in the middle of this. He says, search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me and lead me in the way everlasting. And so if you're experiencing that right now, what's happening around society today, I want you to pray three things. Search me, test me, lead me. And this is true for anything in your life. You should hate sin. You should hate evil. You should hate wickedness. But if you're not careful, you'll sin in the midst of it. And so what you've got to do is in the midst of it, when this stuff starts to rise up in your heart, we're going to be like David. We're going to trust in God and we're going to look to him and say, search me, God. Test me, and then lead me. Where do you want me to go? And that's what I want to pray over us.